New information suggests that there was indeed a cover-up of the information released to the general public about this Southport killer, but also 2 tiers of information that was released, which I'll cover in this video. But also a ridiculous suggestion as to where the blame really lies with this monster having a knife and going to carry out this awful attack. But in other news as well, there's a major development in Prince Harry's case against the Sun, which I'll come back to later in this video, that might surprise you all. But first of all, if you're new to me, I'm Daniel Shensmith, a barrister of England and Wales. I'd be really grateful if you subscribe to my channel. I am not the mainstream media. I don't have a huge firm backing me or financing me. I depend on you, the viewer, to subscribe for free and like the video, share it with somebody, and that helps my audience grow. And I'll be really grateful for that. So let's go first of all to this Telegraph article, which I'll link below, that says the police were gagged, they say, by the CPS over this Southport killer. They say they were gagged from releasing information vital about Axel Rutgerbaner in the wake of the Southport murders. They say that they wanted to provide details about his background, including his religion, his crimes, but they were warned not to do so by the CPS. Now, it is not unusual to release essential, basic, crucial facts known at the time, even in incidents like this, because they wouldn't automatically jeopardise a trial, although careful consideration is given in any scenario like that. They had also, they say, been keen to explain more about the terrorist documents that they'd found, the batch of writing that they found, so they say they were warned against making any of this information known to the public. But it also says, rather alarmingly, that following the guilty pleas, prosecutors tried to block details of the pre-trial briefing held by Merseyside Police being reported. They say that the politicians knew that he had this material shortly after the attack, which was confirmed by Keir Starmer, but the public were not told. The decision not to be more transparent has been blamed for fueling the riots and growing suspicions that there was indeed a cover-up. Now, I personally believe that had more of these facts known at the time been released as they were, just facts as they were discovered, it would have probably quelled a lot of the aggression and tension around the country. But what I also believe personally contributed to the civil unrest, the aggravation, the frustration around the country was headlines such as these. Forgive me, LBC, but this is exactly as it was. It says, boy, 17. Now, technically, anyone under the age of 18 is not an adult, but so factually correct, again, with the facts, but factually correct, accused of murdering 3 girls is, and it says here, quiet schoolboy who was unwilling to leave his house. Now this, of course, along with the young photographs that were published, but also information here that was obviously garnered from a neighbour. It says here in this article, another neighbour told the Liverpool Echo that he was known as the quiet choir boy who lived with his parents and 20-year-old brother. So if information like this was put into the public domain, which in any sense of the word is giving the general public one impression as to who he was, etc., that again lends to the argument that other facts known at the time could also have been released. But don't just take my word for it. These are the words of Jonathan Hall, KC, whose views appear broadly to align with mine that I released yesterday. Listen to this.
Well, I suspect that it was advice from the CPS. The effect was disastrous, so I've got no doubt about this, that more information should have been put into the public domain. And I think there was a very, very poor 8 hours after the immediate attack where social media went completely mad. And it was really up to the authorities, I think, to give a calm, sober, honest and authoritative account of what they could say. The contempt of court rules, they are difficult. And I know that journalists find them hard, but frankly, this man was only ever going to be convicted of murder or manslaughter. And it really is hard to see why more information couldn't have been given to the public. They were crying out for it. I mean, I was desperate to know. When I was on holiday, I heard about the terrible attack. Of course, I wanted to know who was doing it. And there was a long period where nothing was said. So I think that how the CPS, how the police, how the authorities approach giving information when these terrible attacks occurs has to be thought about in the new social media age. Just saying nothing is no longer an option.
And I'll link that below so you can watch the remainder of it. But I think that's absolutely key. We are in a different age. We're in a modern age where information will flow around, whether it's accurate or not. And accurate information is better to be published, in my view, to counteract any misinformation or disinformation where it exists. And so I'm grateful there to this clip that reaffirms my view about the same. But also now we move to headlines that now focus on where this weapon came from. Now, on the one hand, there may be arguments against how easy it might be to obtain these things from various places, but in my view, that is absolutely the wrong focus, because if an individual is absolutely hell-bent on going about these sort of attacks, then they will find a way of doing so. And quite clearly, from everything we know, he was absolutely obsessed with doing this and would have found it anywhere. It's the same old argument that it is not weapons that harm people, it's people that harm people with those weapons. And so whilst we do have lots of rules and restrictions in place, ultimately the people that are determined to do those things are going to do those things. But now there's now a call for having multiple IDs to prevent underage knife sales and so on, all of which will go to reduce the amount of knives in circulation, etc. But ultimately is not going to eradicate the problem. Again, people that are determined to do that are going to do that. So now moving on to look at Prince Harry's case with The Sun in just a moment. Don't go away. Now, as an aside for a moment, in today's modern world, two things are absolutely critically important, and that is connectivity and communication and security. Now, when you travel around, those two things are invariably compromised, either with your own mobile phone provider. I've experienced that myself with an infuriating exchange trying to activate my son's network when he went abroad, but also the security aspect is critically important, because how do you know that the Wi-Fi that you might want to connect to hasn't been compromised and is trying to infect your system? Well, that's where a company that I partner with comes in, which is Saily, which provides you affordable eSIM digital data without any physical SIM card wherever you travel in the world. And because it's brought to you by NordVPN, it also comes along as standard with a virtual location, ad blocker, and web protection, and it prevents you from accessing malicious websites with reliable internet connection wherever you go in the world. Now, it's really simple. You download the app, you buy a plan for your destination, you follow the instructions, and it will automatically activate when you arrive. No waiting for a piece of plastic to arrive in the post or anything like that. And of course, you don't have to buy a plan straight away. Just download the app now and you have it ready for when you do travel for affordable internet connection. Of course, as a partner to my channel, I get you a discount, which is 15% off any plan that you want to buy. Just use the code BlackBeltBarrister at the checkout and it will apply that discount for you. As with all my partners, I wouldn't recommend it to you unless I've tried and tested it myself. That's one thing I insist on before I partner with the company, and I can speak from experience that Saily was a seamless experience for internet access internationally. So check them out, and thank you to Saily for sponsoring this video. Now back to Prince Harry and his case against The Sun, News Group newspapers. You might remember from previous videos I've talked about his claims of unlawful information gathering, etc. In short, when he launched this claim, this is from the BBC summary here, he argued that more than 200 articles published between 1996 and 2011 contained information that was gathered by illegal means, repeatedly saying that he wanted this case to go to trial because he wanted accountability for the alleged victims of unlawful news gathering of private information by journalists at News Group newspapers. Even News Group newspapers said, according to a source to the BBC, said that they were surprised by the serious approach by Prince Harry for settlement in recent days. Now, this case has now settled to the surprise of many people. The amount of damages is unknown, and there is also an apology. And that apology reads, if I move this around so you can actually see it a little bit better, reads as follows. They say NGN offers a full and unequivocal apology to the Duke of Sussex for the serious intrusion by The Sun between 1996 and 2011 into his private life, including incidents of unlawful activities carried out by private investigators working for The Sun. NGN also offers a full and unequivocal apology to the Duke of Sussex for the phone hacking, surveillance, and misuse of private information by journalists and private investigators instructed by them at the News of the World. NGN further apologises to the Duke for the impact on him of the extensive coverage and serious intrusion into his private life, as well as the private life of Diana, Princess of Wales, his late mother in particular, during his younger years. We acknowledge and apologise for the distress caused to the Duke and the damage inflicted on relationships, friendships and family, and have agreed to pay him substantial damages. It is also acknowledged, without any admission of illegality, that NGN's response to the 2006 arrests and subsequent actions were regrettable. And then goes on to offer an unequivocal apology to Lord Watson for the unwarranted intrusion carried out into his private life during his time in government by the News of the World during the period of 2009 to 2011. This includes him being placed under surveillance in 2009 by journalists at the News of the World and those instructed by them. NGN also acknowledges and apologises for the adverse impact that this had on Lord Watson's family and has agreed to pay him substantial damages. In addition, in 2011, News International received information that was being passed covertly to Lord Watson from within News International. We now understand that this information was false and Lord Watson was not in receipt of any such confidential information. NGN apologises fully and unequivocal for this. So this is obviously a bit of a surprise because I think a lot of people expected, including myself, I expected Harry to take this to trial. A lot of other people would have expected the same, and some people may now speculate that he never intended to go to court. I think that he did intend to go to court, and I think that this has probably has come to a point where he has had enough of it and obviously wanted to agree. They've probably had a lot of back and forth on the full terms of the apology that they were willing to publish, and he's ultimately agreed to that. But I also think this will have an effect on how news is reported in the future, how information is gathered in the future, and news companies and journalists will doubtless now act in a much tighter and careful manner. But there's much more to come, so please do like the video and subscribe to the channel for further updates. And as always, thank you for watching.